Law versus reality. What life is actually like on the ground. When people talk about queer life in Africa, they usually begin with the law. They quote headlines. They list penalties. They point to statutes and assume those words alone explain everything that happens on the ground. But laws do not wake up in the morning. People do. Every day, millions of people move through cities, towns, and villages, navigating lives that are far more complex than any legal text can capture. And for queer Africans, daily life is shaped not by law alone, but by relationships, routines, judgment calls, and constant awareness of context. To understand what life is actually like, it helps to separate three things that are often treated as one: what the law says, how it is enforced, and how people live. These three are not always aligned. In many places, laws exist that are rarely enforced in everyday life. In others, enforcement is inconsistent, selective, or tied to circumstance. And in almost all cases, people learn quickly that the written law is only one factor among many that shape their sense of safety. This is not unique to queer life, it is how many societies function. Rules on paper often behave differently in real spaces, influenced by culture, community, economics, and discretion. Queer people, like everyone else, learn to read these dynamics early. They learn which neighborhoods feel safer than others. They learn which conversations are private and which are not. They learn how to present themselves in ways that attract less attention, or in some cases, how to claim space carefully when it matters. This is not constant fear. It is constant awareness. Daily life often involves small, quiet decisions. Who knows what? Who doesn't need to know? When honesty is safe, and when it is simply unnecessary. These decisions become part of routine, like checking the weather before leaving the house. What really shows up in outside reporting is how ordinary these routines become. People go to work. They attend school. They build careers. They argue with siblings. They complain about traffic. They make plans for the weekend. Queerness exists alongside all of this, not always at the center, but never absent. Many queer Africans describe their lives not as lives in hiding, but as lives in layers. There is the public layer, how one moves through work, family gatherings, religious spaces, and everyday interactions. And there is the private layer, friendships, intimacy, chosen family, creative expression, and personal truth. These layers are not necessarily experienced as dishonest. They are experienced as contextual. Just as people adjust how they speak at work versus at home, many queer individuals adjust what parts of themselves are visible depending on where they are and who they are with. This flexibility is often misunderstood as repression from the outside, but from the inside, it is frequently understood as competence. Another assumption is that law automatically equals constant danger. But danger, like safety, is unevenly distributed. Some spaces are more permissive than others. Urban areas may offer anonymity. Certain industries may be more tolerant. Some families prioritize harmony over confrontation. Some communities protect their own quietly. None of this erases risk, but it does complicate the idea that queer life exists in a single state of crisis. There are also contradictions that defy simple explanations. A place can be legally restrictive yet socially indifferent. A family can reject labels while maintaining deep bonds. A community can avoid public discussion while privately allowing people to live as they are. These contradictions are not signs of denial. They are signs of societies negotiating change in their own ways. What often surprises outsiders is how much life continues within these contradictions. People fall in love, they form partnerships, they build futures together, even when those futures do not resemble the publicly recognized models seen elsewhere. Love does not always require public affirmation to be real. Commitment does not always need legal recognition to be meaningful. For many queer Africans, the question is not whether life is possible, but how life is shaped. What compromises are acceptable, what joys are protected, what boundaries are maintained. This shaping is not passive, it involves agency. People choose how open to be. They choose when to take risks and when not to. They choose whom to trust. These choices are informed by experience, not helplessness. Another misconception is that the law dominates every interaction. In reality, social norms, economic roles, and personal relationships often carry more immediate weight. A respected professional may be treated differently than someone without social capital. Someone with strong family ties may experience protection that others do not. Someone embedded in community life may navigate space more easily than expected. Again, none of this suggests that challenges are imaginary. It suggests that reality is textured. What is often invisible in global conversations is the emotional labor involved in this navigation, the mental calculations, the constant reading of atmosphere, the effort it takes to maintain balance. And yet, within this effort, people still find room for humor, creativity, and rest. They celebrate birthdays, they plan trips, they dance, they tell stories, they build memories that have nothing to do with laws or headlines. When the world reduces queer African life to legality alone, it removes these dimensions. It replaces lived experience with abstraction. It also creates a false choice, either total freedom or total oppression. Reality rarely works that way. If you've only heard about the legal struggles of queer Africans, the next video asks a deeper question. Are queer African lives really only about survival?